It is a fact of American life that the victors get the spoils. Ranches and castles are too, and a vehicle to access them quickly and in sublime comfort is another. European art was one of William Randolph Hearst's passions, so we brought some, albeit using a definition of the word art that he would find rather loose, to his former doorstep to see which best befits a baron in his castle. The BMW feels the most artificial. For one thing, the exhaust note, it sounds like, something from a movie soundtrack. And in fact, it is a soundtrack being played through the stereo. And when you drop the top in this car, you actually hear the engine less. Not only is this the heaviest car in the test, but it feels the biggest. There's all this sheet metal in front of you and behind you and to the side. The suspension is constantly fighting with the weight. When you're in corners, there's the sense of the car leaning to one side. The brakes have a hard time slowing the car down with the alacrity of some of the other cars. This one feels like the weakest structure. There's a lot more vibration up the steering column. It's definitely more of a luxury car in our luxury sport continuum on this test. That sound is almost worth the price of admission. Because it's supercharged, there's a lot of linearity to the way the engine delivers its thrust. When you start pushing it, you notice that the rear end gets very slippery. This car likes to go sideways. I mean, frankly, if the electronics weren't quite so retro, you could really enjoy this car. This car is pretty brutal in a way that the Mercedes and the BMW especially are kind of insulated. This car is a bit more of an experience. No car in the test mixes luxury with sport more confidently than the Benz. They have this amazing engine. It's hard to believe that a turbocharged engine can sound this good, but it really does sound amazing. Very responsive throttle, far more responsive than the other twin turbo, the BMW. And the chassis really knows its business. I mean, this is not a light car, but it's held to the road. Body control is quite good. The steering places the nose right where you want it. And you really have no trouble hustling this big machine through the twisty stuff. And then when you just want to roll along, it's perfectly happy and pleasant to do so. It's at $171,000. It's definitely the car that does the most with the most. It's just reassuring to know that even though the Porsches get bigger and obviously more expensive and more comfortable and they have more buttons, that the company still makes an amazing driver's car. You make a few trade-offs with the Cabrio. Obviously it's a little bit heavier. The structure is very stiff. I mean, if there's differences between the coupe and the Cabrio as far as structural stiffness, it ain't easy to tell from the driver's seat. There's definitely more road noise. You get a lot more tire noise. It's not quite the luxury cruiser that some of the other cars in this test are. The seats are gripping you tighter. The seats are definitely firmer, but there's just an amazing sense of control, and the steering just filters out the roughest stuff, but still kind of gives you these little tugs and sags and lets you know what the wheels are doing and if the tires are working hard. In that way, it keeps you just fully involved. I mean, you're able to really work the engine, hear it, feel it, but yet you're not building ungodly amounts of speed like you are in some of these higher horsepower cars in the test. I mean, I wouldn't call this car slow by any means, but it's definitely down on power compared to the other cars here, but yet it still manages to be a more fun, more involving, more complete experience. We don't know what cars William Randolph Hearst had to run his guests up the hill from his private airstrip to the castle, but the Porsche is the best car in this day and age for the job. It is immediate, it is thrilling, and it's a joy.